Have you ever wanted to screen print using your Cricut and multiple colors and layers? I'm going to show you how to do that in today's tutorial. I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. I can't wait to show you how to take some fluorescent ink from Speedball and create this kind of ombre look with your flower and then add the Aloha on top. It's all done with Speedball ink, and I'm going to link everything that I'm using down below so that you can make your own fun screen prints using your Cricut. It's a super easy process and it really is a lot of fun. You can use any colors, styles, and designs that you like. Without further ado, let's get started. But before we do, be sure that you're subscribed here on YouTube. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. To create the design for our screen printing, we're going to use an image from Creative Fabrica, which is so easy. So all I'm going to do is click upload, and then I'm going to upload image, and then I'm going to choose browse to browse for my design. Now I'm going to go into my summer folder and I'm going to use tropical seashell and flower. Now what you're going to see is we've got this file here, which is an HTML file. That is our SVG file. So I'm going to select it. Now you'll see we have everything on the page. We're not going to use all of them, and I'll show you how to eliminate the ones we're not going to use. I'm going to click continue. And all I simply need to do is choose upload because this is an SVG, so it is ready to go. Now let me make it a little bit bigger so that you can see what we're going to do. You'll notice that it is just one single layer here in the layers panel. That's because our design is what's called grouped. So in order to ungroup the design, I'm going to take a look here and show you all of our different pieces. So what we need to do to eliminate the ones that we don't want to use is choose ungroup up here at the top. And then all I'm going to do is kind of use a highlight, which is just drawing a box around it and deleting all the ones that I don't want. Now, a couple of them are in parts. So you're going to see, for example, we've got this little extra piece here. Just go ahead, draw that square around it, delete it. We're left with our flower, but we want to make sure that we take our flower, and I'm going to attach it so that when I go to cut this out of my vinyl for my design, it's going to cut all as one piece, because this is the piece we're going to do with that kind of like rainbowy neon. Now I am going to size this first before I start working with it otherwise. I'm going to put this on an adult large, so I'm going to do a pretty big flower because I do want this to really stand out, and we can resize it once we add the text. But what I want to do here is I'm going to change the color of our flower just so it's easier to kind of see as we work with our text. Now we're going to open up a text box by clicking text, and I'm going to do Aloha. And I'm not sure if I want to do it all caps or not yet. We'll kind of figure out what font we're going to use, and then we will decide what the text is going to look like exactly. And whether we want all caps, we want lowercase, whatever we want to do. I'm going to go into my system fonts, which is full of wonderful fonts that we can use. And I'm just going to kind of click through a couple of my favorites and see if anything truly stands out as like the look I'm going for. You can definitely use websites like wordmark.it to help you choose a font as well. And from here, we can just sort of pick out whatever we like. All right, I like this Lovely Mood script, and I'll link this down below. It's one of my favorite fonts. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of expand this because I do want this to take up a little bit of space across the flower. And you can really kind of place this wherever you want to, whether you want to go a little low, whether you want to go a little high. You can angle it. I mean, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. Design this how you want. But because we're doing screen print, we don't need to do like any kind of a knockout method with this because the black screen print is going to work beautifully over the neon, and it's going to look really, really cool. So once I'm happy with the way that this looks, what I want to do is I want to actually flip my design because we're cutting this with vinyl and it goes on the back of the screen. It needs to be mirrored in order to show right when you go to put it on your shirt. But rather than mirroring it and forgetting to, because I tend to, I like to take it here and I like to just flip it horizontally on this screen. And that way I don't have to think about it when I go to cut this with my vinyl. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm just going to call it Aloha. Oops, spelled it wrong. Aloha, and I'll just use SP for screen print and click save. Now I always like to save them before I hit the make button, just in case anything happens. From here, we'll hit make, and let me show you how to set these up so that they cut well and correctly for a stencil. So what we want to do is we don't want this right against the edge of our cut for our vinyl. You usually want to try to get it for, I usually like to do about 2 inches
on the top and then on the bottom, but we'll trim the vinyl down. And then I just try to get the wording in the center. With the flower, with this one, I'm just going to try to move it pretty centered onto the 12 by 12 sheet, and that way that one's good to go. Now we can cut these out of our vinyl, and I just use whatever color vinyl I have that I've got a bunch of that I don't like, or maybe that I bought by accident, which is what happened with this one. So I'm going to use this teal vinyl that I have a ton of. Get these cut out. I'll show you how the secret to weeding for a stencil, and then I'm going to show you how to apply your screen print.
I'm going to use this teal. If you've been here before, you know that I have a 10-yard roll of this. So this is what I always use for stencils, and this works so well because I've just got a ton of it. This is a StarCraft permanent vinyl. So I'm going to load this in. We're going to cut out the Aloha first, then we're going to cut out the flower, and then I'm going to show you how to weed everything so that it comes out right. Let's start with the wording. So the key to weeding something for screen printing is that you're actually going to weed out where you want the paint to go through. So rather than weeding out the background, we're going to weed out the letters. So I always just think about it, where is my paint going to need to go through? What is going to need to be on the shirt for it to look right? So I'm going to weed it away this way. Now there's this really teeny tiny piece, and I don't even know if that little piece will stick at all to the screen. So if I lose this little guy, I'm not really worried about it. It'll be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just rip my vinyl, apparently. That's okay. And there you can see we have the Aloha word. It's backwards like we need it to be, and that's weeded out. So it'll be the same situation with the flower. Like I said, normally would you weed the background, but with this you're going to weed out the flower so that you can in fact have the paint go through the flower. And the technique we're doing with the paint is going to be really, really cool on this flower. I think you're really going to like it. I think it's going to be a super, super fun one. Now let me go. I thought the petals were separate. I don't know why I was thinking that, but they're all one piece. So I should have started on this side. I didn't. That's okay. We can just go and start on that side again. And then I want to get this kind of pulled up. And you can see that the flower is what's going to appear. So that's where all of the paint is going to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab our screen and I'll show you how to set this up. We're going to start with our flower. Now we need to apply our design, so our stencil, if you will, to our screen. So this is our screen, this is the vinyl, and then you're going to need transfer tape. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to move all of this out of the way because we need to use our table. First thing I'm going to do is pull out my transfer tape, and I'm sorry this is going to be loud. And I pull it out about as big as I need it for my design, and then I'm going to just stick it to the table really quick. It does not matter if there's a wrinkle in it. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off just because it's just a little easier. And now what you want to do is you're going to de-stick your transfer tape. A great way to do it, just stick it to your table. You can also stick it to your clothing, a wall, really kind of anything, but you want to stick it a few times because we just want to make sure that it's a little bit less sticky. Even as a medium tack, it's just very helpful to have this be just sticky enough to kind of pick up your screen print, and then you just don't need it to be like insane. So I'm gonna stick it to my table, and then I'm gonna stick it to my shirt, so it's gonna probably get a bunch of dog hair on it. Welcome to having a shedding German Shepherd. We're gonna go ahead and pull that off, and now I do have dog hair and some shirt fuzzies on it, and I'll stick it to the table just one more time just to really make sure. And this is a really important step. I see a lot of people have trouble and they're saying, oh, my vinyl's not sticking. I'm having trouble getting it to stick. My stencil won't stay. And that, my friends, is because you didn't de-stick your tape. So we've de-stuck our tape, and then all I'm gonna do is lay my design down onto my tape. This part is standard. This is what you're always gonna do anytime that you're working with a piece of vinyl. Then I'm gonna burnish this from the back. And I just want to make sure that I burnish everything down, get any of those like little bubbles out from the transfer tape. And you can see I'm just kind of going from the middle and working my way out. And then I just want to make sure I kind of go over those little pieces of our flower, just a little bit in the middle. Now, When we're peeling this, you want to make sure that you're peeling all the vinyl off. So just like always, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to start from the back. Now sometimes it's a little difficult. Sure, you can't get it apart. You can use your pin pen to start pulling that backing off. Whatever you need to do, you can start in a different corner, but you want to make sure that this vinyl backing is coming with your transfer tape. So sometimes, especially if your transfer tape doesn't cover all your vinyl, you just might need to help it along. And then just like you do with any other design, you want to just pull back that backing. And you can see I'm using that sharp angle where I'm just folding it back on itself. And I'm just gonna go around and make sure everything's staying down. This is a pretty simple design, so it shouldn't be too hard to do, but I think this is gonna be so darn cute. Now, while your design is the sticky side up, so you want the sticky side of your vinyl up, take your screen and just figure out which way you want your screen to go. It doesn't matter. You do whatever way you think is gonna work best for you. Now, because I'm doing 4 colors of our screen printing, I'm gonna go with it in like a landscape mode, if you will. That way I've got a little more space for my colors along the design. Now, you do wanna try to get this relatively straight, but if it's not perfect, do not fret. It's not the end of the world. It will be totally fine. Now you can see that my screen is of course stained. I've used it a lot. These screens last a long time, but I do think I might need to replace mine soon. I do have a little tear somewhere over here. So that's just something I'm aware of. So I just want to be careful when I'm putting my vinyl down. Now, one thing that I will recommend is a squeegee that has the felt on it is really helpful for this. It just gives you a little less of a resistance on the screen because you do want to make sure that you press this down. And I am pressing this down pretty well with my squeegee. Now this is where things do get a little bit tricky, but don't worry, I promise you can do this. You just need to be patient, take your time, and don't like fret if stuff starts to lift. It's really okay. You're gonna find a corner and you're gonna start peeling your transfer tape away from your vinyl. So I'm using this upper corner here. Now again, it is gonna seem like your vinyl's lifting a bit, and it probably is because this is fabric. Vinyl isn't really made for fabric, but with screen print, it'll work just fine. So I'm just gently pulling back, and you can use your hand to kind of help it if it's starting to lift too much, but don't worry, we're gonna come back through and we're gonna press this down again to make sure that we don't have any lifting or any bubbles or anything. So if it lifts a little bit, like right here, just go back just like you would any other time you're doing this and just help press that down. You can also use your squeegee to help and just hold it down a little bit as you're pulling. That can be super helpful, but you don't want to press really hard against your screen. This is fabric and it's stretched, so you can accidentally rip it. So you just need to be really gentle and you don't want to push too hard. But if you have pieces that are lifting, that's totally normal, and it's something that you're just going to have to kind of work with. So again, we're just going to keep going. Now that one is just being a pain and it doesn't want to stay down. You can use your finger to hold them down too if you don't want to use your squeegee. Really anything that works to help hold any of these pieces down is fine because this part isn't sticky. You're on the regular side of the vinyl, so this part is not sticky at all. So it won't matter if you come at it with your finger or with your squeegee, whatever you got to do. So let me go ahead and finish getting this down since you've seen the different techniques that I'm using to help hold the vinyl down, because I know I'm going to have a little trouble with these sharp corners, and that's just life. So let me get this all put down. I'll show you how to go across this one more time to make sure we don't have any more lifting or bubbles.
The sky, every challenge makes us strong. Keep on moving.
Once I've got that vinyl off, I'm going to just take my finger and kind of smooth out these pieces that we know lifted, and I'm really not pushing. I'm just running my finger over them. Now go ahead and flip your screen back over so that your frame is on the top. And this time you're going to go over this again with your squeegee. And again, I'm not pushing real hard. I'm just pushing just kind of enough to make sure that everything is well held down. Now you can inspect it, see if you see any spots where there might be any bubbles. Sometimes looking from this side can help, where you might have a spot that might be lifted or something like that. But I think everything looks pretty good. Now we do need to address 2 little spaces. So we have some space right here where some ink could get through if we accidentally like put too much ink down and we've got it over the side there. So in order to avoid that, you can use really kind of anything. I normally use painter's tape, but I don't see any, so I'm gonna cheat and I'm actually just gonna use some heat tape. This will work fine too. This isn't really a big space, so heat tape will work just fine as well. I just started this roll, so it's fine. I'm just gonna cut this off, and then all you do is you just tape over the spot. You can use masking tape, heat tape, kind of really whatever, but the heat tape will work fine for this. And you just cut and kind of cover up any spaces you might have on the edge. I don't see any over here. I'm just gonna hold it up to the light. Nope, I'm good there. So just this little edge right here, and this, like I said, this heat tape will be just fine. Now we need to get our shirt ready, and we need to get our scoops. Now we need to get our shirt prepared. So this is just a cotton shirt. It's Gildan brand. I am gonna run a lint brush over this first, but I'm gonna put our cardstock in it before I do that. And the reason we put cardstock inside is to prevent the ink from accidentally running over into the shirt and going onto the back, because it can like bleed through, because it is liquid, and that's just kind of how it works. So you do want to use some cardstock. You want to make sure you get this into your shirt. And the one thing I will say that I like is that I can actually see where this cardstock is inside the shirt, so it's a little bit easier to get it lined up where I need it, since our design is pretty big. Now you do want to make sure that your shirt is kind of free of like any folds or wrinkles under it. You could pre-press your shirt if you want to. I don't really usually, so you can see it is kind of wrinkled, but that won't really affect us because we are going to give some pressure, and that should get any of the wrinkles out of our way. So I'm just kind of adjusting where my cardstock is, and like I said, I'm going to run a lint brush over this because I can see some little hairs on it from it just being in my craft room. So I'm just gonna, isn't this the cutest little lint brush you've ever seen? It's just a little travel one, but it's like perfect for my craft room. Now once I've done that, it is time to place our design down onto our shirt. Now remember, you really can put this at an angle if you want to. Do it however you want, but I'm going to do it so that the stem, I can't remember what that's called, but the little stem piece is going that direction. Now, like I said, with this one, we're going to go about 2 fingers down from the collar. So that's pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm just going to get it as centered as I can. Now I'm not going to be able to use the frame to center it because like this isn't fully centered. So you really need to kind of figure out about where center of your design is and then base your centering on that. So I think that looks pretty good. I think we're happy with that. For our flower, I'm going to be using the Speedball fluorescent paints. I just got these. I'm so excited to use these, and I just thought this was going to be a really fun project to show you how you can take multiple colors of ink and just kind of make an ombre and have fun with it. So this is a really, really fun way to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and just take these all out of the package. I've got 4 colors, which is perfect. Now I do want to give you a little tip. Keep your backing from your vinyl because we're going to be able to put our dirty stuff on this so that it doesn't get on our shirt, it doesn't get on our table, you know, all that. So I always keep that, and then I do have 4 separate spoons. Don't freak out, I'm going to wash these. I keep plastic spoons in my craft room for this kind of stuff. I wash them, I reuse them, I bring them back down. The last time I did this with a plastic spoon, somebody panicked and said, "Oh my God, you're so wasteful." I'm like, girl, no, I reuse them, I promise. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and pop these off. I think they have like a plastic cover. They do. So I'm going to have to pull these off, which I hate doing. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you how to lay out your ink. I have gloves on now just because opening those was so stinking messy, but it's fine. This is not a toxic product. If you get it on your hands, it does wash off, so I'm not doing that because it's toxic. I'm doing it because I don't want my hands all gross. So what I'm going to do, you're not going to use a lot of paint because you don't need it, because we're going to do the 4 colors. So I just do kind of like, I'd say a spoonful, and then you can scrape any additional paint right back into the jar. Now with this one, you're not going to be able to scrape the paint that you're using on your project back in. So if you think you have too much, go ahead, take some off. It's okay. We're not all perfect here. I do think I have a little bit too much. We can always add paint, but once it's mixed, there's no coming back from that. So I'm going to go ahead and just get that one. And then I'm going to make sure I put the lids back on each of them just so we don't get paint where we don't want it. And then you just sort of figure out what order you want them in. You can do any order that you want to. You don't have to use neons. You can use regular colors. This is just a really fun way to make a shirt. So like I said, I use like, I don't know, I would call that like maybe even just a quarter spoonful, and even that might be a little too much. Now I'm not overlapping them when I'm doing this. I'm just setting them next to each other. They'll overlap when we go and place the squeegee down, and I'll show you that too. And then I think I'm gonna go blue next because I don't think I want the orange next to the blue. I think I want the blue next to the pink because that'll make a purple, which will be nice. And then we're just gonna kind of stick some of that down. And it's okay right now if it's sitting on your stencil, like where it goes through the paint. Don't worry about that. It doesn't have to be off of the paint section of your stencil. And then last but not least, we're going to put down orange. And again, I'm just going to use a spoonful. But this is why you have separate spoons, since we're using separate colors. We don't want to like blend the colors together too much, if you know what I mean. We don't want to accidentally get like blue ink in the orange one. All right, so once you've got your colors down, I know this is going to sound like super scary, but don't worry, it's really not. You really can't screw this up. It is pretty simple. So I'm going to just take my squeegee, and this has two sides. It has a fabric and a graphic side. We want to use the fabric side. They're slightly different. You want to place your squeegee in your hand like so, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make sure I go across the whole thing. I'm going to start right in the center because I'm going to blend these colors a little bit more. So right now they're like really liney, but watch, if I just move over a little bit, we can get them a little more blended. So you don't want to move your squeegee too much, and you want to make sure you get all the way down, since this graphic goes way down. Oh no, and see, that's something you don't want to happen, but that's okay. It's no big deal. Look at that, it's fine. So once I've done that a couple times, I'm pretty happy. I think that's fine. I'm gonna take my squeegee with all the ink on it and place it over onto that design, or onto that edge, whatever we wanna call that, the paper. Because you don't want to go over this too much because you can overblend. Now I'm going to have a little blobbiness. It's okay. You just be a little more careful than I was about dripping paint. Now check your hands. Make sure you don't have any ink on your hands. And what I do is I hold the corner of my shirt down here. And then I'm going to lift up my screen and I'm just going to pull it straight up. All right, we got a little blobby down here. It's not as blendy as I would like, but I think it still looks pretty cool, and I would have blended it a little bit better had I not blobbed down here. But honestly, that's what's really fun about this, is that you can really just kind of have fun with it. And if you want it a little more mixed, you can use your finger and come in and blend it a little bit more, but it's really up to you and how you want to do it. If you want to blend it with your finger, you absolutely can. And one way I do that is I just dab it like this. But you got to be careful because you don't want it to go over where your design is. So I'm just sort of dabbing my finger over that line, and it's blending it a little bit better. It's not so liney, but again, do you. If you don't care, it's fine. Like this line here is a little bit not as blended as I would like, but that's okay. Again, just have fun with it. No, listen, it's not going to be perfect every time. Now, when you do wash your screen, you want to wash it with a lukewarm water. You're basically just going to rinse this. You do want to rinse it right away. You're going to rinse this. You're also going to wash your spoons and your squeegee when you do this. That way nothing dries onto your screen and blocks your screen up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't think you guys need to see that. We'll let this dry for probably 4 hours or so, and then we'll come back and we'll put the Aloha over top.
For the second part of your stencil, I'm going to use that same piece of transfer tape since it's already not as sticky, which is great. And it's going to be done exactly the same way. Burnish down your design, and then you're going to peel your backing away from your vinyl. Now, again, I'm going to use that squeegee with the felt. That one is so good. This cut a little deep, so I had a little bit of trouble getting the design off of the vinyl, but it was fine. It was no big deal. I just used my pin pen to help me. But this one, like I said, is done exactly the same way. There's nothing different here, so you're going to just follow the same directions. Put that screen on to your design, press it down with your squeegee, and then you're going to go in all the different directions to make sure it's well held down. Then you're going to peel your transfer tape off from the back using your hand to help you hold down any of the vinyl. Again, when you're doing multiple layers, they're all done the same exact way. Make sure you don't have any bubbles or wrinkles, and you're going to be ready to add your ink.
Now, with this Aloha, what's fun about this is you can really kind of put it wherever. I do want to try to get it pretty centered, but if it's not perfect, it's not really the end of the world. There's some quick little tricks you can use. Like this is obviously the center of the flower, or like pretty close to the center. So you can kind of use this line to help you. And like the center of Aloha is going to be like right on that O. So I'm just gonna kind of center that. And then you can really just kind of figure out like, oh, am I happy with that? Do I want to scoot it over a little bit more? You figure it out. You can angle it. You can keep it straight. Whatever you want to do with this, there is not really a wrong way. And I will say that when you're starting out with these types of screen print designs, I would highly recommend you use something that's not going to matter if it's not perfectly lined up. That will get you used to kind of layering your screen. Now for the Aloha, I am going to do black because I do want it to stand out really nicely. Our extra backing from our vinyl. And this is just to put any of those dirty things on that you may have, whether it be, you know, your spoon or your squeegee, whatever you got. So I'm just going to spoon out. Now this one I am not going to use a ton of ink again because I used way too much the last time. So you just sort of spoon out a little bit and then you can spread it across, but really you'll spread it with the squeegee too. So don't fret if like down here you don't have a ton of ink. That's completely okay. And then I just take whatever ink I have left and I do scrape it right back into the jar. Then again, you're going to check, make sure you have your fabric side selected on your, using on your squeegee. And then all you do is you just pull down. Now you don't need to use a lot of pressure. And if you've got a spot like over here where it is not fully filling in, flip your squeegee and go up and just fill it in. You can go in multiple directions with this, but you just make sure it's all filled in. And you can see I used a lot less ink on this, which I should have done with the other. Now I'll take all the ink that's on the edge here, and unlike with the neon, since I couldn't mix them, you're just gonna scrape it right back into your jar. That's the thing, screen print ink really does last a long time because you just take all the extra ink and put it right back in. So once I've got that pretty well de-inked, again, I just take any of that little bit of extra ink, put it right back into my jar, and I want to make sure I close my jar up. That way we don't get ink anywhere. I'm going to scoot all my dirty stuff out of the way. I am going to check my hands again to make sure, because I'm always going to have a little bit of ink on my hands. I could have worn gloves again, but that's okay. This does wash off, but I just want to make sure none of it is going to spread onto my shirt. I'm going to take my hand, put it in this bottom left corner, and that holds your shirt down, and then you just pick up your design. And look at that, it is so gorgeous. Now we have one more step that we need to do, but I need to allow this to fully dry again. So again, I usually let it dry for about 4 hours. If you want to speed up the process, you can use a like hair dryer for it, but honestly, it doesn't take that long. And while it's doing that, you can go wash your screen, get a snack, do another project, whatever you may need to do. But you want to make sure that you wash your screen right away when you're finished. Now, I am going to link some more screen print videos down below if you want to know more about screen printing. So be sure to check those out. But come back and we're going to go ahead and heat set this, and that's our last step. Once your item has fully dried, so this needs to be completely dry, you can heat set this. Now you can use your home iron on the cotton setting for about 2 minutes over the whole design, but if you have a heat press, it's a lot easier. I'm going to go ahead and push this in. I heat set this at 320 degrees for 40 seconds. Once it's done, you can go ahead and release. And your shirt is ready to go, ready to be worn. I'll get you an up close look.
This was so fun, and I love how it came out. Now, again, you can do this with any colors, any designs, any styles that you want to, and I hope that you do. Screen printing with your Cricut is a lot easier than people think. No need to complicate it. It is a lot of fun. Just be willing to make a mistake here or there, because that's just life when you're crafting. Now, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll also link everything that I used in this video in case you don't have the supplies yet, and you can get them very easily. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.